and share. So with that, let's move on to our third story, which is the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Heather calls Whitney drunk and crazy in heated fight over sexuality. Now, let's see whose side are you on. So, as we all know, Whitney kind of lost her mind and was accusing Heather Gay of exploiting her sexuality to sell her book. And Heather basically was like, "You've lost your mind. You're drunk. Stay away from me. You're being way too aggressive." And I want to know what you guys think. But before we do that, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. All right. So this is also from All About the Truth. It says, on Tuesday's episode of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Whitney Rose called out Heather Gay's hypocrisy and got called drunk and crazy in return during a heated fight. The claws came out between cousins, friends, and co-stars Heather Gay and Whitney Rose during Tuesday's episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Tensions heated up when Whitney shared her feelings about Heather's infamous memoir, Bad Mormon. The ladies headed to the oldest bar in Bermuda, but the night took a turn when Lisa Barlow decided to stir the pot. The View Tequila owner asked the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City cast who had actually read Heather's 2022 memoir. This gave Whitney the opening to vocalize her issues with Heather's book. The 37-year-old called out Heather for exploiting her sex life. In Bad Mormon, Heather wrote about a 2017 boudoir photo shoot that Whitney did as a gift for her husband, Justin Rose. Whitney was unhappy that Heather put her intimate activities on blast in her memoir while refusing to open up about her sex life. So I've read your book, and last night you were so uncomfortable to talk about sex with Monica. Last night was hard for me. You told Monica to shut the F up, but you openly write about my sexuality in your book, Whitney told Heather. It's hypocritical that you won't talk about your own life, but you write about mine in your book. Heather denied Whitney's accusations, retorting, I wrote the book, and it had nothing to do with your sexuality. In her confessional interview, Heather continued, I don't talk about Whitney's sex life in my book. I described when I first met her. I was a boudoir photographer and she was a sexy model. The 49-year-old Real Housewife of Salt Lake City OG also insisted that Whitney knew what was in the book before it went to print. Like, what is Whitney trying to do? Take credit for the book being a bestseller because she and my friends are in it? It's just not true. We've discussed my book 100 times and she's known what was in it, Heather quipped. Okay. Before we continue, this is where I land on it, and I want to know what you guys think. Put your thoughts down below. I think that Whitney is just looking for a moment. I think she is doing the absolute most to have TV time, camera time, having moments. I think she is still pissed at Heather because Heather is now good friends with Lisa Barlow, and Whitney and Lisa are on the outs. I think she's so jealous that Heather and Lisa are still friends, that she is doing everything in her capacity to take shots at Heather. This whole saying that Heather sex shamed Monica, that's a lie. Heather never sex shamed Monica. All she said was, I'm not discussing my daughter's sexuality, because Monica, in my opinion, very inappropriately asked Heather if her daughter, her child, was sexually active. Excuse me? What? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? And don't forget, Monica's eldest daughter is not that much younger than Heather Gay's oldest daughter. Monica's oldest daughter, I think, is like a junior or senior in high school. And Heather's eldest daughter just went off to college. I wonder how Monica would feel if someone was inquiring about her daughter's sexuality. But then again, she made the comment, Kris Jenner does it all the time. So maybe Monica wouldn't have a problem exploiting her child's sexuality for money and 15 minutes of fame. But unlike her, Heather had a problem with it. And I agree with Heather. She created healthy boundaries. She respected her daughter's privacy. And she did not exploit her daughter's sexuality. So shout out to Heather. She protected her daughter, and I'm here for it. That is by no means sex shaming Monica. Monica was then the one who, at the dinner the next couple of scenes, brought up, oh, let's talk about, when was the last time you had sex and blah, 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 blah. And then they got in this whole fight because Heather was like, well, look, like I'm the only single girl here. So me talking about it looks a little different than you guys because you guys are all married, which was true because Monica, even though she's a big fat liar, was very much legally married, not even divorce papers because she filed for divorce in June of 2023. So when they're filming the scene, Monica is very much legally married to her husband, Michael, now ex-husband. When she says he won't sign the papers, that was a lie because she didn't file for the second time until June. In June of 2023, the season was already wrapped. They were done filming. So that was a lie. That's why Heather said, you're not single like I'm single, which is very true. It's very different for Heather, who has been divorced for years and is actually 100% a single woman, versus Monica, who is still legally married to her husband at the time this whole conversation went down. And there's nothing wrong with any person, woman, man, whatever, to say, I don't feel comfortable talking about my sex life or my sexuality in this particular moment. That's not sex shaming another person. That is asserting your own agency and saying, this makes me feel uncomfortable and I don't feel like talking about it. I don't think it had anything to do with religion, like weird Angie said. Angie just, again, Angie less than smart, less than smart. I don't understand Angie, whatever. She's like, we've been so indoctrinated by the Mormon church. And I don't have anything to do with religion. I think that Heather did not feel comfortable discussing her sex life with Monica. I don't think it had anything to do with religion. And that's what Heather said herself. She said, I know how Monica discusses sex and I'm not with it. Because Heather has discussed sex a lot on the show. To the point where you remember when she said she wanted like a big black guy because they have, the big black, you know what I'm saying? And remember how she was trying to hook up with that guy who Jen Shaw had tried to set her up with, and then they were at that party and there was a big black guy there and she wanted him to, and she's like, let's go in the back or something. Like Heather has been very vocal about her sex and about her sexuality and about owning, wanting to have more of it and wanting to explore. She's been very vocal about her sex life. She just said, I don't want to talk about it with you, boo boo. That's very different. That's not hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is Whitney all of a sudden acting like, oh my God, I can't believe you're talking about my sex and my body in your book. Whitney, who, in my opinion, again, this is just my opinion, Whitney and Justin, who I think lied and said that the reason why he got fired was because on camera they had, basically like a nude painting sex party with her and her husband on the show. I don't think that's why he got fired. I think he got fired because the company allegedly is a pyramid scheme, MLL marketing scheme, who had a class action lawsuit going on, and they didn't want the public smoke. They didn't want the media attention on the company because they were being sued in the class action. And the more people that join the class action, the worse it is for them. And they didn't want that smoke. That's why I think they, quote, fired Justin. I don't think they fired him. I think they were like, listen, we got to let you go. We'll give you a severance package, but we don't want this heat. That's what I think happened. I don't think it had anything to do with the fact that they were on this show basically getting wasted. And remember when she talked about the stripper pole and taking body shots and having her boobs everywhere, bought a boob cake to Meredith and Seth because Meredith's husband Seth loves her boobs. Listen, Whitney, you are the last person on this cast to talk about somebody exploiting their sexuality. And Heather writing about her experience of when she first met you is not exploiting your sexuality. She's just retelling the first time she met you. That's it. And you also talk about people exploiting your sexuality. On last night's episode, you literally said, oh, you know what I love about Justin? His nose, because it's good for you know what? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You guys watch the episode, you know what I'm talking about. So what are you talking about? Whitney, you just wanted a moment. You wanted to bring Heather down because you're jealous that she's friends with Lisa. And you're pissed that she told Lisa what you were saying about her behind her back, that you were talking to her and you're making her a better person and how selfish she is, but you're making her see the light and you're making her change. The only reason why you went after Heather and about this whole book thing was because you were on some get back. And you made up this whole sexual exploitation thing just as an excuse to try to take Heather down. It has nothing to do with your sexuality. It has nothing to do with Heather's sexuality. It has everything to do with you being jealous and on your get back. And to me, that is crystal clear. Crystal. And that's just my opinion on this. And I think that, Justin, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, blink twice if you need us to come and save you. Because Whitney also was disrespecting Justin. Oh, it was so good to sleep by myself. And Heather was the one who defended him and was like, oh, don't be talking about our J man or J dog. She was just like, oh, like, that's kind of like not nice to say about your husband. And then Whitney wonders why Justin isn't wearing his wedding ring and why they're not having sex and why he is, at work 99% of the time because he's avoiding you because you're insufferable. If I was Justin, I would be avoiding you too. So, Whitney, have several seats. Several. Okay, let's keep going. You exploited my sexuality in your book, Whitney told Heather. You won't talk about sexuality, but you will effing exploit mine in your book to effing sell it. Do you understand what you're saying? Because you sound like an idiot, Heather said while getting up from the table ready to leave. I think you are a ridiculous bee for even saying it. Before exiting the bar, Heather got into a shoving match with Whitney, who was yelling, You took my shoe off! You exploited my sexuality! After almost losing her balance and falling over, Heather stormed out of the bar while telling Whitney, What is your sexuality? You're wearing it right now. Own it. Whitney ran after Heather, all while dragging co-star Monica Garcia into the drama. Heather, it's not fair for you that you sex-shamed Monica and exploited my sexuality in your book, Whitney yelled at Heather in the parking lot. Why are you so defensive about it, Heather? I want to have a conversation with you. I don't want to have a conversation with you, Heather said. You're drunk and you're crazy. Get away from me. I'm not drunk or crazy, Whitney fired back, which probably means you are both. To which Heather replied, You are both. You are guilty because you know you exploited my vagina in your book, Whitney yelled. Girl, please stop. Please stop. So, what do you guys think? That was my rendition, as if I was in the clubhouse doing a clubhouse reading. There you go. So, I want to know what you guys think. Do you think Whitney has a point? Oh, Heather, you exploited my sexuality in your book, even though I gave you permission to tell the story, even though before the book went to print, I knew exactly what you were going to say in it, and I never had a problem or an issue with it, even though you are simply retelling what your experience of something is. Or are you like me and you think Whitney have several seats? You were drunk and you were crazy, and you're picking a fight with Heather. You're making this up because you're pissed that she's friends with Lisa and you're jealous that you're no longer friends with Lisa. That's really what the core of this fight is. You're just jealous and you want to take Heather down by any means necessary. And so you made up this whole sex shame, sexuality BS. Girl, bye. Girl, bye. Ugh, but I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. All right, so let's move on to more of a recap of the episode.